ॐ ॐ ॐ ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ We'll read Upadesa Sara and then continue. Yeah. कर्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलम् कर्म किं परं कर्म तच्छडम् कृतिमहो दधौ पतनकारणम् फलमशाश्वतं गतिनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितं नेच्छया कृतं चित्तशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकम् कायवाङ्मनः कार्यमुत्तमम् पूजनं जप चिन्तनं क्रमात् जगतैषधी युक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिभृदेवपूजनम् उत्तमस्तवादुच्चमन्दतः चित्तजं जप ध्यानमुत्तमम् आद्यधारया स्तोत्रसासमम् सरलचिन्तनं विरलतः परम् भेदभावना सोऽहमित्यसौ भावनाभिदा पावनीमता भावशून्य सद्भावसुस्थितिः भावना बलात् भक्तिरुत्तमा हृस्थले मन स्वस्थता क्रिया भक्तियोगबोधाश्च निश्चितम् वायुरोधना लीयते मनः जालपक्षिवद्रोधसाधनम् चित्तवायवश्चित्क्रियायुताः शाखयोर्द्वयी शक्तिमूलक लयविनाशने उभयरोधने लयगतं पुनर्भवति मोऽमृतम् प्राणबन्धना लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तना नाशमेत्यदः नष्टमानसोत्कृष्टयोगिनः कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्तितिं यतः दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मनः चित्वदर्शनं तत्वदर्शनं मानसन्तु किं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्ग आर्जवत् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः वृत्तयो मनो वृद्ध्यहं मनः अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वतः ऐपतत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनाशभजहमहन्तया स्फुरति हृत्स्वयं परमपूर्णस इहमहं पदाभिख्यमन्वहम् अहमिलीनके अप्यलयसत्तया Vigrahendriya pranadhitamah Nahamekata sajjadam yasat Sattvabhasika chitkvavetara Sattaya hi chittayahyaham Jiva isha jivayor veshadhibida Sattvabhavato vastu kevalam वेशहानतः स्वात्मदर्शनम् ईशदर्शनम् स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मसंस्थितिः स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मनिर्द्वयादात्मनिष्ठता ज्ञानवर्जिता ज्ञानहीनचित् ज्ञानमस्ति किं ज्ञातुमन्तरम् किं स्वरूपमेत्यात्मदर्शने अव्ययाभवादापूर्णचित् सुखम् बन्धमुक्त्यतीतं परं सुखं विन्दतीह जीवस्तु दैविकः अहमपेतकं निजविभानकं महदिदं तपो रमणवागियम् Okay. So in the last class, we have come up to verse number 29. Yeah, 29 we already read, I think, and we started. We completed 28, wherein Ramana Maharshi has brought in the third aspect, which we ignored till now in our lessons in Upadesa Sara, which is the bliss aspect, santosha. Yeah. So, Sukha, he is talking about this as Apurna Chit Sukham. So, he has brought in the third final aspect of that as well into this one, that the Sukham or the bliss or the contentment that we feel in our daily life is nothing but my own nature. The Atma, nature of the Atma also includes the Sukham aspect which is there. And Guruji has given a couple of explanations for that, because it's much easier for all of us to understand the nature of consciousness, because I feel I am conscious. Nobody requires to tell me. I don't require to read any text. I know I am conscious, and also that I exist. These two aspects, they are so apparent, so real to all of us. Although there is some kind of a misunderstanding of what that existence principle is. I think the body is me and body is existing. But really speaking, it is the me I am existing, lending that existing and consciousness to the mind, intellect, body, all these layers of Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, all these, they have this aspect of consciousness and existence only because of me. I lend that existence to them, is what we have read till now. Yeah, even in the Jnana Kanda, what we have seen right from, I think, verse 21, we have been seeing the Jnana portion of Upadesa Sara. So here he brought in the third aspect of Sukham, which is not very apparent, because I don't think that I am 100% Sukham, like I am 100% conscious, I am 100% existing. Nobody, at any given time, there is not a time when I feel I don't exist. Even in the deep sleep, once I get up, I may not feel at that time, but once I get up, I knew that I existed. I had that deep sleep, comfortable sleep. I know. So I exist and I am conscious is something which is there every time in our life. Although, unfortunately, we don't give importance to that. Like example we gave, that light is there, I'm able to see, but I am more focused with the objects, what I am seeing, and the process of seeing, and the fact that I am the seer. Yeah. So like knowledge we talked about, Jnata, Jneyam, Jnanam. So Jnata is the person who is gaining the knowledge. Jnayam is the object of knowledge, and Jnanam is the knowledge. The process of gaining the knowledge itself is called Jnanam. So the knowledge which we obtain because of that. Similarly, seen will be more important than the light which enables me to see this. So what we are saying is that I feeling which is there, the I Atman which is there, provides this existence and consciousness, but we don't give any importance to that, but it is always present. A little bit of contemplation, and we know that I always exist in the background. Without me, nothing is possible in terms of gaining any knowledge. But here, Ramana Maharshi doesn't talk about the gaining the knowledge as such. He talks about the experience, which is the same. Really speaking, all my experience is nothing but gaining knowledge of various sense objects that are there outside. Yeah? And sometimes even the ignorance of them. That also is part of my experience. Whether I think that I know or I think I don't know, both are my experiences. So instead of using the knowledge, he uses the word experience is used in terms of understanding this Atman. And that Atman is always present, and one requires to be established in that aspect is what we have seen in the verse 26 and 27 as well. Yeah. Guruji, in 28, he mentioned that you may think that you are not Sukham because that is not continuously available like the other two. But what he says is, if it is not my true nature, like heat to the fire, then I will be very uncomfortable with the bliss when it comes to that. I cannot get rid of that just like that. But I take all my actions to make sure that I am Sukham always. I am happy always. And also, if it is not my nature, I'll quickly get rid of it. Like water is there, when we heat it, it quickly gets rid of. Moment it is taken out of the fire, the heat goes away because it's not my nature. So since I'm very eager to get rid of sorrow which comes or sadness which comes, I must be of a different opposite nature, and opposite to that sadness is the bliss. So these are a couple of the reasons he gave in terms of what it is. And the first time again in this, Ramana Maharshi has positively defined the Atman. Till now, Neti Neti was going on. Yeah. So in this, for the first time, if you see the second line of 28, Avyaya, Abhava, Apurna, Chit Sukham. Very beautiful definition he has given to say that I am that aspect, Avyaya, Abhava. Avyaya, undecaying, indestructible. And Abhava is unborn and uncreated. So these two indicates this is the Nitya. It is not really depending upon the time aspect which is there. And Apurna, it is two A's are there, not Apurna, Apurna. So it's a double negative which is given to Purna to indicate it is Purna. But at the same time, we didn't say Purna because normally we talk about in Shastras, this limitation is always given that I am not, this Atman is not limited. Neither it is Kala Paricheda, Desha Paricheda, Vastu Paricheda. And we have seen Kala Paricheda means eternal, Desha Paricheda means unlimited, and Vastu Paricheda is Advaita. There is no second thing because Vastu Paricheda, there is no Vastu which is not him. Means it is Advaita. There is nothing other than him. To say that, he says as Vastu Paricheda. So these three, if it is not there, that entity is called Purna. In our Shastras, Purnatvam, Purnamada, Purnamidam, when we talk about that, Purnata is defined in these three terms. One is Nitya, means it's not limited by time. In fact, time is because of that Atman, and it is not limited by the space. So it is infinite, means that is Purna associated with that. And Vastu Paricheda is Advaita. There is nothing other than the
Shankar, I have a question. I thought abhav means lack of, but here he's saying that it's
Unborn or uncreated. So bhava is something when, how will you experience something? Bhava is I am recognizing something. Cognizance is bhava. Abhava, I cannot cognize them. So either two options are there for that. One, when you cannot cognize, is it is beyond the sense capacity. See, there are so many sound waves going on. With my capacity as a human being, I can cognize only so portion of that overall response. Whereas a dog can do much higher, they say. Yeah. So abhava can mean either it is not there at all, or second is it is beyond my senses. Okay. So if a rabbit's horn is Shankaracharya's favorite, to say that abhava, I can never gain the experience of that because it is never there. Whereas when we talk about some of them, they are beyond the scope of our senses. But here, not only it is beyond the scope of senses, in that sense, it is beyond. So one which is unborn is the one which is beyond my cognizance, is how it is interpreted in the text by Guruji. Okay, yeah. Thank you. No problem. Manojji, you have a question?
Yeah, Hariam Sankarji. So actually, when I was reading um, this chanting, it's not a bhav. It says a bhav, and bhav means born, and that's how bhavati dhatu bhavati or bhavatu.
Oh, okay.
And then abhav means not born. Yeah.
Abhava, it's called, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Manojji. Yeah, that gives you another reason.
It is abhava because in English it becomes
Abhava.
In Hindi it's saying abhava.
Abhava.
Thank you. Yeah. Apurna is
correct. Two hours are there.
2 hours are there.
Yeah. Thank you, Manojji. Agree with you. All right. So, and Chit and Sukham, we have already seen, yeah? And remember always, Chit, when we talk about the very knowledge principle, what Guruji used this word of knowledge principle, is Chit is not only consciousness, but that very awareness principle because of which the consciousness appears to be existing in the creation. Yeah. So it is the very nature of the Sat which allows the consciousness to be present in the created world. The Purusha Prakriti we talk about. Existence principle is Purusha. Existence principle is the Prakriti, where everything is existing. This exists, that exists, and that becomes the created world. Yeah. So here we have seen that eternal infinite happiness cannot be gained through impermanent and finite sense objects and enjoyments, but the knowledge that arises from the self-inquiry. That is how Guruji concluded the verse 28. Yeah. We have started already verse 29. Yeah. Here, Bandha Muktyatītam Param Sukham and Vindatiha Jivastu Vastu Daivikaha. So, did I miss anything in this? Okay. All right. So, Jivaha tu, the individual Jiva, Vindati. Vindati means actually it attains, it realizes. What it realizes? Daivikaha, the divine virtues or divine nature of itself, it realizes that as Param, infinite, Sukham, happiness, Bandha Mukta Titam. It is beyond the bondage and liberation, Iha, here in this world. Here in this world itself is how this one is given. Here. Iha means here in this world that we are talking about. Why we are talking about Daivikaha and here itself and Param, etc. we are talking about. And it is also bondage and liberation. It is beyond the bondage and liberation. Bandha Mukta Mukti Atitam. Bandha Mukti Atitam, beyond the bondage and liberation. This question keeps on coming, if I am that Aham, then who is that who was bounded by the limitations? And if I am getting liberated, who is getting liberated?
Jiva.
Because Jiva should be.
Yeah.
But
I
this
don't
question, it is. What you're telling is true. But the question is, always that question will come if Shastras are telling, Brahmasmi. I am always then, Brahman cannot be limited, bounded, and Brahman cannot get liberation because he need not get liberation. So who is getting liberation if I am that Brahman?
But I don't realize I'm that Brahman. Yeah.
So
That's
that is how it
the
comes about. So when we talk about that Brahman, don't think it is the Brahman who was in Brahma.
problem. Okay, Brahman. Right.
Yeah, Brahman is not in Brahma. Brahman is always, he knew that he is what he is, of nature of Satchitananda. But I am the one, Jiva, I get that. But I am not really true. I am a Mithya Vastu. So why should you get that with this one? So in order to understand this concept of Aham is beyond the nature of bondage as well as nature of liberation. That is how he is now trying to bring out that one.
But is he not talking about the Jivatma here? Because he's saying Jivan Mukh. That's how I am understanding.
Correct. Absolutely,
Yeah.
he is talking about. We'll come to that.
Okay.
We'll come to that. But we need to understand the term that that particular Atman is beyond the liberation and bondage. Bandha Mukti Atitam. So that term, when it is given, who is Bandha Mukti Atitam? It is not Jivatma. It is definitely the Atman that we are talking about, who is beyond the bondage and liberation. So it cannot be Jiva. He is talking about Atman. Why that question comes is always I am thinking that it is that Shastra or the knowledge given in the text is giving me liberation. I'm thinking like that. But by nature, I am that Atman which is beyond these two. That is the reason why Advaita says that entire thing, what we are looking at as a bondage in terms of Jiva and the liberation that Jiva gets, both will be part of the Mithya world. It cannot be that Atman, he is beyond all this. That is how it. And if that is the case, the very bondage also must be only a Brahma. It cannot be real. Bondage cannot be real for me to overcome something. But I am overpowered, my mind and intellect are overpowered by the ignorance that I think I am bounded. Last time I gave that example of washerman's donkey. Yeah. So the donkey, when he goes washerman, just somebody tells him, you just act as if you are tying the donkey. Don't worry. Just let it see you doing that action. And donkey thinks it is tied. And it stays there. It refuses to move till the guy again says as if, okay, I'm liberating you. So both bondage and liberation in that donkey story is both are nothing, really nothing happened. But the donkey was bound by both of them, thinking that it is liberated, thinking that it is bound. Both is in terms of jiva. So there is a limitation even to the Shastra. When we talk about, once we are established in that very Atman or the Brahman that we talk about, then I don't see either the bondage nor I see a need for any liberation. It is just my own thinking that I am bound and I'm just going along with the flow. But once I recognize my true nature, he says that you don't have any bondage, neither there is any need for any liberation. So that Atman is beyond the bondage and liberation.
This reminds me because somebody asked Ramana Maharishi when we were enslaved by the British that why are you not joining the freedom movement? And he says, for what? There's no need. Yeah, there's some story around those lines.
Yeah, these are the good stories, but we required that liberation from British.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a Vyavahara is concerned, we require Shastra, we require liberation, we are bound. But recognition of that, once we cross over, then we don't require all the Shastras or even the sadhana. Everything becomes a mithya once for a person who is realized already. Yeah. So, and second term here, iha, the term that he has used as iha, very important word that is there, because normally we have in our understanding a lot of stories what gives you mukti? Yeah, we hear that you do Krishna Japa, you do Ramanama, and you will get liberated. Once you die, you will go to a particular loka, either heaven or some other mother's world, and their mother will give you knowledge and you will get liberated. This is Bhakti Marga Krama Mukti. These are all the terms which we keep on hearing that. But when it comes to a jnani like Ramana Maharshi, there is no such mollycoddling. He is telling that nothing doing, only thing that gives you is knowledge. And once you gain the knowledge, all this becomes like a pole vault. You reach that spot and you leave the pole. Then you don't require to go back to your Shastra, don't require to go back to your sadhana. That's why for a sannyasi in our thinking process or the lifestyle process, once you take up sannyasa, sannyasi is not bound by any requirements. There is nothing like this is, for example, in the other three stages, vanaprastha or grihastha or brahmacharya, there are specific things told to the people that you have to follow this, follow this, follow this. Yeah, for good living, for this one, you're required to follow. And as a vanaprastha, also you are required to go on tirtha yatra, get rid of all the bondages with the people which I have before in my life as grihastha. I have established n number of relations. I require to now break all of them and go inwards. So physically you go out. So tirtha yatra is that. When you take tirtha yatra, you are ready to leave the bondages of the samsara behind you. But for a sannyasi, there is no requirement. Although it is said that sannyasi should never stay in a house for more than 3 days or something. This one is there. Yeah. But nowadays, difficult for people to follow that. Sannyasis also come for a 7-day yajna. They stay possibly in one house. But again, they go out for bhiksha. They never take bhiksha in the same house. That's why when sannyasis come here, we encourage others to offer bhiksha, so that it's not only on the host that he is depending, because it's against the sannyas ashram, basically speaking. So we encourage everybody to call sannyasis outside. So in that way, there are some specific aspects to that, but sannyas ashram doesn't have any specific rules, regulations. They need not go to temple, they need not do any havam, nothing. At the exclusion of everything, their focus is only on the jnana. How to reach that one Advaita Brahman is at the exclusion of everything else, their focus is only on that. That becomes the sannyasa. So what I'm trying to say is, with so many aspects which are there in terms of what that liberation is, here the two aspect Guruji is telling comes out to explain the concept of Jivan Mukti. You need not die, or a jiva need not die for one to get the liberation. Because we think that, okay, I got the jnana, but I require my body to drop, and then I will go and merge with the Atman or Brahman. So in all our movies also we see that once this one is dropped, the soul emerges, the light emerges and just goes, and idol will be there, it will go into him. So really speaking, all that is only our illusion. Really speaking, once a person attains the jnana, two means that Jivan Mukti happens immediately now and then. There is no need for anything else to happen, neither the death to come, body to drop, nothing doing. Only once the body drops, the whole concept becomes from Jivan Mukti, Videha Mukti is the term that is used. Deha is dropped, we means not there. So once the body drops, same Jivan Mukti is called as Videha Mukti. No longer there is any other body that such a liberated master need to take. So they need not come again. Guruji explains a bit more in terms of this concept of Jivan Mukti. He says the two also indicates the rarity. How rare it is to gain such a Jivan Mukti, or the concept of Jivan Mukti. It's very rare for people to gain that. And when we talk about rarity, he says there should be a qualification which actually one requires to gain over many janmas or in this janma. Doesn't matter really. We don't know how many janmas we have been on this path and how we are going at this particular stage. But really speaking, there is a qualifications that require for a person to reach, or a jiva to reach this stage of Jivan Mukti. So he is again talking about the sadhana chatushtayam. I mentioned that before many times. Is the viveka. Viveka is the discrimination. Now, discrimination can be many levels. The discrimination happens. Yeah, we live. Intelligent person means we say you are with discrimination. Person with discrimination. I can discriminate between good and bad. Dharma, adharma, what we require to do, what we don't require to do. My own duties versus the things which are beyond my duty. So discriminated person always is seen as a person with a best way of living is discrimination. That's how we normally think about, and we can apply this discrimination at various levels. But sadhana chatushtayam discrimination is between what is the permanent versus what is impermanent. So that is how the discrimination means. The moment something comes in, whether is this the Brahman or not, kind of. That is the type of this one which we require to bring in, so that it automatically, a person with discrimination will develop the second aspect, which is called Vairagya. Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhamadi, Shat Sampatti, Mumukshutvam. These four constitute my sadhana chatushtayam. Vairagya normally is taken as dispassion. Dispassion towards what? Dispassion towards enjoyments. Dispassion towards gaining more and more objects from outside. So the greed aspect comes as the anti-vairagya. So the moment I have vairagya, I maintain my needs, because that is the requirement for me to maintain my body, mind, intellect. But really speaking, it doesn't go beyond. So vairagya automatically brings in the people into the ocean. But what Shankaracharya says, this vairagya is not a different thing. The moment you start living with viveka, vairagya is nothing but an automatic given for such a person who is with the vairagya. But accepted as two, viveka and vairagya. The third one is the mental attitudes one required to develop in terms of this one, which is Shat Sampatti. Shat Sampatti, Sama, Shat means six, yeah. So sixfold inner wealth is this Samadhamadi Shat Sampatti we are looking at. So they are Sama, Dama, Shraddha, Titiksha, Uparati and Samadhan. So normally Samadama, Titiksha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhan. That is how the concept, some order may be slightly different, but anyway, these are the six aspects which one require to develop, they say. Sama is the equanimity. We are seeing even in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, this equanimity of the mind is given such importance by Lord Krishna for the karma yogi. So Sama is control over the mind. And Dhamma is control over the senses. In another way, Dhamma is also, see, what happens in Sama is there may be things around me, but I am controlling my mind so that I don't start desiring all of them for myself. This is Sama. Whereas Dhamma, sometimes it becomes difficult for me to control, so physically I keep them away from my senses. So Swarupananda ji always used to say, when he was in Singapore, I think at that time, Hong Kong, he was there. He always used to say that one lady used to come to his lectures. He used to take as a brahmachari. And she used to say, and he used to walk to that particular, this one through a mall, because it's a shortcut and goes. See, she used to say, how come you come in time? Because once I enter the mall, I cannot get out in time. Because her senses are always in shopping mode, window shopping mode or shopping mode. So he says, I didn't even think about that it can be a problem or an obstacle for people to come through or cut across the mall. So he's telling that such people require Dhamma. So she never enters. She goes around the mall and comes, although it is slightly longer. So it's Dhamma. So she is practicing Dhamma to keep away from that desire that is pulling into that. So Sama, Dhamma, and Titiksha is forbearance. Means the path of sadhana always brings in some obstacles, not only obstacles, but difficult to overcome mental sadness. So there can be many things which will be hit you with duality, sukha, dukkha, etc., etc. So titiksha is to forbear. So when you are here, suddenly power has gone. Then, especially in India, if you are there without AC, is a big issue for people to survive. Yeah, it is correct only, but don't let that overpower your mind. So titiksha is to overcome these small irritants that keep coming. Don't let anger take over you, or the arishad varga, the 6 mental aspects of mind, negative aspects should not overtake you just because something is coming in front of you. This is titiksha, very important. This one. And uparati is withdrawal. Withdrawal, like example they give is tortoise. Tortoise takes out all the 4 legs and the head inside it's this one and keeps it to avoid any danger. Similarly, when the danger of this desire tries to overpower you, you withdraw your 5 senses inside and keep it inside with you with the protection of the Lord over above you. Yeah. Mohiniji, you
Isn't
have some?
yeah, isn't Uprati and Dama same? What's the difference?
This is it is same in a sense. It is the same, but here we are looking at uparati more, including physical, not only the mind control that we are looking, even the physically the sense control. Dhamma and sama both put together helps you in terms of uparati. So when I sit for meditation, for example, yeah, I'm not real. There is nothing else in front of me, but my mind is still going out with the objects outside. Sama is when everything is around you, all my senses are working, I'm controlling my mind. When it comes to Dhamma, I'm avoiding the objects, but I'm still in the world. Uparati is even when I'm sitting, my mind is going everywhere. In terms of all the 5 senses, it goes everywhere. I bring in the smell of dosha. I bring in the wonderful Lord Venkateshwara in front of me. My mind is going everywhere. Uparati requires that control over the mind in a different way, where world is not there, but my mind is still running around there. I require to bring all of them, which helps me in meditation.
Which will it
Focus.
be equal to dharana?
Dharana, yes, possibly, yes.
Hmm.
We are going into a different
It's
lineage,
yoga.
yeah?
Yeah.
So the term can be used for dharana, yes. Yeah. And Shraddha is faith in the scriptures, faith in the Guru. That is how it is described as Shraddha. Shraddha is not mere faith, blind faith we are talking about. We are not talking of faith here. It is nothing but the faith in the Guru and scriptures that they are good and they are correct. And only thing is, I require more sadhana to gain that vision. Because many times when Guru says Tattvamasi, difficult for me to access. They appear to be completely different opposites of the thing. So really speaking, they are one and the same. If Guru is telling, I have to have that temporary faith that Gurus and scriptures are correct, and I require more sadhana to achieve that vision. So that is the Shraddha that we talk about. And Samadhana is the self-absorption. Once we do Uparati, that's why I think here in this text, Uparati is given as the 5th one. So once you sit in the meditation, the equanimity and self-absorption into the dhyana may be the other one. This is dharana.
Yes.
This is dharana. So once you have dharana, that is the samadhana that we are looking at, that equanimity and self-absorption is samadhana. And all this is based on the basis for all the other aspects is mumukshutvam. Mumukshutvam is one must have an intense desire for liberation. So that intense desire for liberation is defined as mumukshutvam, and that constitute the basis for the all other sadhana that we are doing. Yeah. So these qualities, in a way, we can talk. I think I did mention this last time when you asked the question about bhakti. So in Vedanta, bhakti is nothing but sadhana chatushtayam, which brings that single mind focus onto the Lord. And if you consider that as a Lord, but once the knowledge comes, the Lord and me are one and the same, then there is no need for me to do any bhakti as such, because I am one and the same. That once firmly established and understand the nature of the Atman that we talk about, it becomes much easy for me to do this. Yeah. So here Guruji says the seeker thereby frees himself once and for all from the vicious circles of birth and death. And the word tu shows that such fortunate individual must be quite unique and rare. Yeah, must be very rare who achieve this Jivan Mukti, is what he is talking about. And he is indeed worshipful because of his divine qualities and unique achievements that he has gone through. Yeah. Again, to sum up this one, he says the Atmananda, the Sukham that we talked about in the previous this one, we must understand this as a non-experiential one.
Oh, yeah.
Just to make sure that if I'm experiencing a joy by obtaining an object from outside, yeah, any of the sense objects that we are talking about, it is an experiential ananda. In terms of my, in Vyavahara, I do gain sometimes I am happy. I cannot deny that I am happy when one see the face of a grandchild or my own child who I didn't see for some time and comes in front. Obviously, there is a huge amount of joy that comes into my in my mind. Yeah, and not only that, any object which I desire, when it comes, there is a joy. My problem is that joy doesn't seem to be continuous. So when we talk about Atma Ananda, is it like that once I sit in the meditation and I go into my dhyana dharana and then I gain that concept of this one and I become happy, and that is the experiential Ananda in meditation I get, and that is my nature of Ananda. Here we are talking about, we are not looking at the experiential Ananda like that. That experiential Ananda, whenever we talk about Ananda or bliss in the mind, it is an experiential Ananda, and that experiential Ananda is nothing but reflected Ananda, like a reflected consciousness. When we talk about reflect in mind, consciousness is there. We use this word reflected consciousness many times. Similarly, any Ananda I experience in the general world in terms of my life, it is all only a reflected Ananda, which starts with my very causal body. And that's why it is called Anandamaya Kosha. So that particular thing has a different gradation, etc. But here it is a non-experiential Ananda, just like a non-consciousness principle which is there. It is because of which everything is there, consciousness or existence. Similarly, even the bliss aspect is the total contentment. Contentment of the knowledge that there is nothing other than me. See, what it says is when I am not something, then I would wish that particular thing to be me, or it should belong to me. I try to acquire. Whole my desire is I am not that, so it comes through. And that is why we are looking at in terms of that one. This is the non-experiential Ananda. It is the very nature of the Atman is how we are talking about. Yeah. And it is beyond the bondage and liberation. As I mentioned for the donkey, for this one, both liberation and bondage, they are nothing but a thinking process, which it's a cognitive shift that we require to bring in. The fact that I am bound is a misconception, and the idea of liberation necessarily will go away once I understand that bondage itself is a mithya. So I am beyond this. Liberation is dropping that idea that I am bound. Liberation is not a physical removal of a chain. Like something is bound by a chain, you remove it and then, or a handcuffs, once you remove, you become liberated. It's not like that. It is the very fact that the bondage itself is a mithya, liberation automatically drops away. That is how it is taken as. And such a person with the divine virtues attains the Atmananda. And when does he attain? Here and now. Jivan Mukti. That is how the verse is telling us. Manojji, you wanted some?
Hari Om
Hari Om.
Shankar ji. Actually, I had a lot more question, but only one or two because I can discuss that later. So when we say, uh, first, I always hear and you also mentioned that we should abide in self. Who should abide in self? So if that looks like philosophical, we can leave that. But other thing comes like when we say when we do contemplation, we always feel like I am and I know I am. So knowing and being, those concepts are clear. Sometimes it looks like that knowing and being is in everyone because that is the thing that is showing I am and being. But when I say that I, is it
Mhm.
those being and knowing is connected by antakarna and reflecting to through this body? Then I should be only antakarna, not I should be the one that is knowingness and being.
Correct, yeah. Where we are looking at is again going back to the concepts of Vyavaharika Satta and Paramarthika Satta. So, as long as a jiva is in the Vyavaharika Satta, we have seen in verse 26, that's what I was seeing, that Atmanishtata. When we went there, we discussed this particular aspect, telling that this knowledge, the firm knowledge, knowledge happens at some time during your sadhana, but the knowledge becomes wisdom only once we start to live that effortlessly. As long as I require a meditation for me to recognize that internal Ishvara, and once I come out, I am drawn into this world like any other jiva, then your liberation is not 100%. You still require some more sadhana. There are stages. Yeah, a person who takes sannyasa, diksha, for example, he has the knowledge because he has gone through that period of brahmacharya wherein the knowledge is given, but it is not fully established. And when that happens, we require all the continuation of the sadhana. Despite the knowledge being there, Atmanishtata is not yet there. So, yeah, you are right. Atmanishtata means that concept of liberation, concept of this one is still required to be established in the person. Such a person requires Atmanishtata. So, it is Jivatma only which actually does that. It is not the Atman or the liberated, fully liberated person. And in that we said there are a few things which such a person intermediate, where the knowledge has happened, but I am not fully established in there. He says you require to do Shravana Manana Nidhyasana. You continue to have that as a requirement for your Jnana Raksha. I mentioned that you require to continue to protect the knowledge that is come to you. So then people withdraw either into Himalayas or into an ashram, and they withdraw into a particular environment which allows them to protect their jnana. So jnana raksha is one of the important aspects for such a person at that stage. Yeah. So jnana nishta is required for such a person, I am telling you. Yeah. And second one is tapasya. You require to continue to get rid of my attachments outside, so that, and when we tapasya, when we say, it is like burning. So whatever little vasanas are still there, I completely burn them during that particular time before being completely liberated, masters we are talking about. And eh, dukkha nivrutti. Sorry, third one is called, we said, avisamvada. So lack of that concentration continue to haunt such a person. So you require to develop that and continue to be in Nidhyasana in that level. Atmanishrata, the meaning I am giving you. And third one is dukkha nivrutti. Don't allow any sadness to come. Whatever this comes in front of you, such a person should establish a kind of a Teflon coating where it does not impact such a person. And the fifth one is Paramananda Prapti. So continue to be very happy in your day-to-day activities, whatever comes. So these are the 5 aspects of Atmanishtata is what. And it is done by such a person who is intermediary, neither Jiva nor the Atma. So you require to establish that, and that is what verse 26 we have discussed. All right.
In this case, Shankarji, does pralabdha karma has to do anything with this, that we are not able to?
Sorry, I didn't get that term again.
When Manojji said that we are not able to concentrate, or we are not able to get this, and we are able not to recognize ourselves permanently or easily, effortlessly,
Yeah.
does it mean that pralabdha karma has anything to do with this aspect?
Not
Because we say
necessarily.
everything is done because of the karma.
Yeah. No, not necessarily. Prarabdha karma is more, in a way, yes, if you extend it, but really speaking, prarabdha karma is a much more previous concept. The very fact that you have taken a jivatvam is according to this. But again, I don't exactly know, but what we talk about, a person when he reaches this particular stage, anyway, he will take a birth, but not as a manushya. He has already burnt most of his prarabdha sanchita karma. There is nothing else associated with that. Prarabdha karma is only between Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. Jivan Mukti, as and now, I got my liberation. I am a liberated master. But my body will continue to exist till Prarabdha for this life is there. And that allows us to have Guru. If suppose I get liberation and everything drops my body, then I cannot have a Guru, living Guru here who will teach me. The very fact that we have somebody like Chinmayananda here, that means there is a time between my Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti, and that why that happens is Prarabdha with which a person has come into this world, even in his last life, will continue to exist. So Prarabdha decides what circumstances you live in, and your life in terms of how you lead that is your own actions that you are taking. These are the 2 different things which are there. Yeah. I hope I'm able to explain that. I'm not sure. Mohiniji.
Yes and no.
Yes, I know. Okay.
So
Yeah.
Shankarji, I was also thinking, just like when we say that this is everything is play on the screen, and let's say we are playing some character role, and all the rules and regulations are laid down that you can come out after removing this makeup and this dress and that. Those rules are fine, but the person can come without those rules as well. So that's where I struggle. Do we need to follow those stringent rules, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you can also, there is a way to be there, and that's why my question was more about
Yeah.
how to, who is doing the being in the self? Is it your antakarna is coming to the self because it was going outside, or yeah? So something was, I am not
Still struggling with
putting
the
those words
concept
actually,
of
but
these 2.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I understood what you are trying to say. Yeah, when you say that any action that you are trying to do, it cannot be Atman, it can be only our Antakarana. The very fact that Atman doesn't have anything to do, it doesn't have any lack of anything. Really speaking, it is the only thing that exists. If you take from that perspective, then whatever actions you are doing, good, bad, ugly, sadhana, everything is done by Antakarana only, really speaking. But the best thing about that is the moment the realization comes, ignorance is gone. It is not like a ignorance of, for me, for example, I don't know how to make gulab jamun. I have no idea. So I have to now learn how to make gulab jamun, but I still require more action for me to make gulab jamun and eat it, for me to really experience and enjoy that. But the Atma Jnana is not like that. Moment we gain that, that is it. So everything is part and parcel of that. As long as I'm trying to gain the knowledge, it is an action taken by Antakarana only. Including Atmanishta, everything is done by Antakarana only. But once I gain that, the very fact that I require to do itself drops. The liberation itself drops moment I understand the bondage itself is mithya. That is why Atman is beyond the bondage and mithya. That is what he is trying to explain to you. So once you keep this example in mind that I am both liberation and bondage, Atman is beyond that. All your questions will be answered if you contemplate on that concept. That whatever I'm looking at is beyond. And once we say that liberation itself will be dropped, once I understand bondage as mithya. So there is nothing that I require to do in terms of liberation. All that is we are dropping the idea that I am bound is the only thing that is being done. I feel and I say I am liberated or a person is liberated. There is nothing like liberation. It is just a conceptual knowledge which actually brings out, is how we are looking at. Mohiniji.
I think as I read sometimes that, in my opinion, it is totally as ignorance, as veiling, because we are supposed to be conscious persons, consciousness is everywhere prevailing, and we are living there among the consciousness, which is everywhere. It just is because we are ignorant of that aspect.
Correct.
Once we start realizing that who am I, this body is nothing, because we always think ourselves as body, mind, thoughts, whatever.
Correct.
But once we drop that and we start thinking that this consciousness is in you, in me, in everywhere, in here, there. So once we remove that veiling, and once that realization is effortlessly with us, we live with that, then it is, all thing is gone. Then we start thinking at higher things. I do not know how to put it.
Yeah, then the
This is
thinking
my
process
thinking,
drops.
but I do not know actually how to recognize this all the time, effortlessly, let us put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely, you are right, Mohiniji. Effortless living, effortless recognition of that Atman as me is what we are really looking at. You are absolutely right. We'll read verse 30 so that at least we'll move into the last verse of the text this time. I was hoping we will complete that text today actually, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. Yeah, we will complete it next week. Ahamapetakam nijavibhanakam. Ahamapetakam nijavibhanakam. Mahadidam tapo ramanavagiyam. Mahadidam tapo ramanavagiyam. Aham apetakam, which is the remover of the ego or ahankara. Manojji, he is talking about this, yeah? One that removes that ahankara itself, that I am the doer, whether it is sadhana or anything else we are talking about, nija vibhavakam, and that in which the real I shines and is evident. So once we remove that ego and we understand that I which is shining through and through, nija vibhanakam, mahadidam tapaha. This knowledge itself alone is the greatest tapas or austerity he is talking about. We will expand this in the next class. To start with, Mahadidam Tapaha. Very wonderful explanation is given by Guruji on this as to why he is talking this as the Mahatapa. To gaining this knowledge is the Mahatapas. One can do that. Ramanavagiyam. And this wonderful text is composed by Ramana Maharshi. That is how the text is ending. But we will expand this verse in the next class. Manjula ji is here for her Bhagavad Gita. So we have to stop now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.